There is a strange feeling described throughout the modern starseed community. It is not sadness, it is not anxiety, it is homesickness. But not for anywhere on Earth. The people who describe it use almost the same words every time. A heaviness in the chest, a sense that the air itself is too thick, a pull towards somewhere they have never been, or a place they don't remember leaving. Some people mistake this for sadness. It is not. Sadness has no direction, while this longing points somewhere very specific. The Andromeda galaxy, roughly 2.5 million light-years away. These Andromedan starseeds are believed to be souls that came from that galaxy and chose to be here. But this choice has a price. Imagine living your whole life underwater. Not drowning, just heavy. Everything takes more effort than it should. The light looks wrong. The sounds are muffled. You can function, but you never stop noticing. That is typical for an Andromedan. The community has a name for it: cosmic nostalgia. Roughly 1 million people on Earth carry it right now. People assume the name is just borrowed from astronomy. It is not. The origin story of the Andromedan is ancient. In Greek mythology, Andromeda was a princess. Her mother bragged that her daughter was more beautiful than the sea gods. The gods punished the kingdom, but the punishment did not fall on the mother. It fell on Andromeda, even though she did nothing wrong. She was chained to a rock and offered as a sacrifice to a sea monster. At the end, Perseus freed her. This myth is important because virtually all sources describing Andromedans highlight the same theme: freedom. From unjust systems, from control you did not choose, from chains that were never yours. This is the behavioral blueprint for Andromedans. A person is being punished for someone else's mistake and then learning to free themselves. The constellation is still there. Andromeda sits in the northern sky next to Cassiopeia, Pegasus, and Perseus. The entire rescue story is mapped across the stars. Every character has a position. You can look up on a clear night and see it all. The myth gave them a name, but the galaxy gave them a home. And that galaxy is not what most people picture. Andromeda is not a small star cluster. It is a spiral galaxy containing roughly 1 trillion stars, about twice as many as the Milky Way. It is the largest galaxy in our local group and the closest major galaxy to ours. And it is heading toward us. The Milky Way and Andromeda are pulling on each other right now. In roughly 4 to 5 billion years, they will collide and merge into a single galaxy. Scientists have already named the result: Milkomeda. That sounds impossibly distant, but on a galactic scale, Andromeda is remarkably close. We are moving toward it at roughly 110 kilometers per second. That matters because the central idea behind Andromedan starseeds is a connection between these two galaxies, souls crossing from one to the other. The science doesn't confirm that idea, but it does confirm the physical movement at its center. The collision is not a theory. Astronomers have measured it with telescopes, but the people who say they come from there describe something no telescope can see: internal traits that are strangely specific. Across dozens of sources, Andromedan starseeds always share these 4 patterns. 1. A rejection of routine so strong it feels physical. Not laziness. A sensation of walls closing in. They quit jobs not because they fail, but because staying feels like slow suffocation, like a smoke alarm that will not stop ringing. 2. A strong pull toward water. Oceans, lakes, dolphins, whales. Some describe past life memories of water-covered home worlds. Others say the sound of waves is the closest thing on Earth to feeling at home. 3. A deep fascination with ancient civilizations. Egypt, Greece, Atlantis. Not casual interest. A gut-level pull, as though the ruins hold something personal. 4. A fierce independence that borders on self-destruction. Authority built on fear registers to them like a sound at the wrong frequency. They cannot ignore it. They cannot tolerate it. They leave. None of these are vague. A 2025 paper in the World Journal of Advanced Research and Reviews looked at why millions of people adopt star origin identities. The answer was not gullibility. These stories can function like myths. They give people a framework for experiences that already feel real to them. The other thing that sets Andromedan starseeds apart is their rarity. Pleiadian starseeds? Most sources estimate millions of them. Arcturians? They are numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Andromedans are placed below 1 million. Some sources say far fewer. The reason is not lack of interest, it is the cost of arriving. In modern starseed lore, Andromedans are said to exist at the 12th dimension. Earth sits in the 3rd. That is not a small adjustment. Sources describe it as compressing an ocean into a drinking glass. The density, the weight, the friction of this planet is so far from their natural state that most refuse the trip entirely. Rare does not mean special in this context. Rare means the ones who came paid a price most of their kind would not. They did not arrive as chosen ones. They arrived and immediately began struggling to breathe. Alex Collier has spoken publicly about Andromedan contact for over 30 years. He describes wearing a device called a density belt when visiting their environment. It created an Earth atmosphere around his body. Without it, he could not survive there. He says they cannot appear in our density without adjustment either. According to Collier's account, the gap wasn't metaphorical. He described it as a physical barrier. You need equipment to cross it in either direction. But the strangest detail in the entire Andromedan literature is not about density or dimensions. It is about language. The two Andromedans Collier describes are known as Morine and Thasius, but those are not their names. They do not have names. They do not use them at all. The Andromedans are described as fully telepathic. Identity is not a word. It is a frequency, a presence, what you are carrying at any given moment. Morine and Thasius were sounds chosen because a human child could say them. One sounds French, the other sounds ancient Greek. Neither is real. People assume all advanced life would develop language the way we did. Words, labels, names that stay fixed from birth to death. The Andromedans are described as skipping that step entirely. A civilization without names does not organize selfhood the way we do. There is no "who are you?" There is only what you are transmitting. And there is something worth noticing. Telepathic beings without names, communicating through pure presence, radiating a love that fills a room. Some Akashic record practitioners describe their appearance as translucent, blue-tinted with wings. Does that remind you of anything? Thousands of years ago, cultures across the world described the same thing. They called them angels. The descriptions are closer than most people realize. And after 3 decades of contact with these beings, the single thing Collier carries above everything else is not a warning. It is not a map of the galaxy. It is a question. Thasius was described as short, white, hairless, and impossibly old. He radiated a quiet authority that made argument feel pointless. After decades of conversation about timelines, civilizations, and the future of this planet, Thasius asked Collier one question. Why do you withhold love? Not why are you violent? Not why are you afraid? Why do you hold back something you already have? Every trait in the Andromedan literature circles this center. The independence, the rejection of control, the obsession with freedom. None of it is the point. The freedom is supposed to clear the way. What comes through once the chains are gone is supposed to be love. Unguarded, without a cage around it. That was the diagnosis. Not from a book, not from a doctrine, from a being who, by one man's account, had watched civilizations rise and fall across a galaxy and arrived at a single conclusion. The chains were never the problem. The withholding was.